Hi, I'm Hazel. It is almost Saturday, so it's time to sit down and catch up with a brand new vlog, and this week, yesterday in fact, Watcher Dev sat down with Lore to do another WoW Dev Q&A. This one I found was especially interesting because in it, a couple of things happened. One, Ion just kind of casually name-dropped Kul Tiran humans as an allied race, and while they've been heavily data mined so far, there's been like no confirmation, and then he just kind of like casually mentions it, which is actually the same thing that he did with Mag'har orcs. And that just makes me wonder, like, is this how they're gonna do it? They're like, okay, so we've got these new allied races, we're probably gonna release them in BfA sometime. We gotta announce them somehow. Do we write a blog post? You know, do we make a video? Do we put it on the website? Or, you know, just like during the next dev Q&A, just like casually slip it in there while you're answering another question like it's no big deal and everybody's known forever, you know? Why not just do that? And I mean, they're 2 for 2 for announcing allied races this way, so maybe that's a strategy. It seems to be working just fine. And then the other thing that jumped out at me as feeling like really significant news to come out of the Q&A is they said that personal loot will be the loot mode going forward, and I kept kind of looking for the ambiguity in their phrasing I kind of wanted to take it as, we really prefer personal loot, we're okay with it giving more loot than other types of loot. But what they more or less said, or at least what I heard, is that personal loot will be the only loot option for organized raiding in BfA. I don't know if I'm just misunderstanding that. Like, are they going to make mythic guilds use personal loot? They did say that one of the things tying raid groups to master loot is the distribution of tier pieces, which will not be a factor in BfA because we will not have tier sets, so you don't have to worry about getting somebody their 2 and their 4 piece. You don't have to prioritize in that way. So I guess that makes sense, but it seems like a bizarre thing to take that option away. I guess it's not that bizarre. I guess if they think it makes for a better gameplay experience, it's not going to make a huge difference. My guild does use master loot. We have a loot council system that's been working really well for us. It does kind of make less work for our loot council. You know, we're often like pulling trash and then like discussing the next boss while our poor little rogue raid leader is like back 2 bosses back trying to figure out who should get what. So I guess it takes some work off of them, but then you have this whole thing of, okay, personal loot's gone out, everything's dropped. Let's scroll through what everybody got in chat and then decide who should get it. So if you're in a guild that wants to continue to micromanage the loot distribution, you could then have a situation where something drops for you in personal loot, and maybe you need it, but you are told by your raid leader to give it to somebody that needs it more. I think this is gonna work better for groups that are a little bit more casual, where, hey, if you get a drop and you need it, that's great. And if you don't need it, then people can decide who's gonna get it. But if personal loot is gonna be the only method of loot distribution in raids in BfA, that's a big deal. People are gonna have some feelings. Speaking of Kul Tiran humans as an allied race, to kind of like jump back to that a little bit, and actually specifically speaking of Kul Tiran humans as druids, kind of like we talked about last week, this week this druid bear form model was data mined that is very strongly presumed to be Kul Tiran druid. And isn't that cool? The whole Kul Tiran versus Droost sort of story and themes in Droostvar relies a lot on this kind of like spooky witch magic that animates these bone and wicker constructs. And it looks like Kul Tiran druids will be getting like these wicker druid forms. And I think that if you're gonna make an alliance Alec Kitty, I mean, I can just talk from back here. It's because I move my monitors out of the way because my camera's actually set up behind my desk. So whenever, so there's like this new space on the upper level of my desk that she has to check out, I guess. Okay, so in my opinion, if you're going to do an alliance allied race, like a new one that has druids, I think this is the way to do it. I think that these Zandalari druid forms look so cool and so unique that if you just did like a regular, slightly changed Night Elf druid reskin model for the alliance version, there's some disparity there. So I'm really happy with this direction. I don't know if I'm gonna play one because I'm really attached to my Night Elf druid, but we'll see what the racials are like. Another thing that I'm curious to find out when the new allied races eventually become playable is for Kul Tiran humans. I'm curious to know if the models that we've seen so far, like the thicker, burlier ones, are the only Kul Tiran human option, or if there's going to be more body types for them. Because when you're actually interacting with Kul Tiran NPCs and like questing among them on the Battle for Azeroth Alpha, they don't all look like that. Some of them do. And then some of them are just like normal human build, and then there was also that thin human model that's been data mined. So I'll be interested to see if they're all burly or if there's going to be different types of model customization options. I don't know, but I'm curious to find out. Speaking of the alpha, we got a pretty big new alpha build this week featuring island expeditions, which I'm dying to try out, but I haven't yet because you queue for them from a place that I haven't gotten to yet, basically. I've been spending so much time this week just questing through alpha and recording all of it and making notes on everything and just trying to experience all of the content. There's a lot of it. There's an awful lot of stuff to do in BfA. Like, there's a ton of questing content in each zone. which is awesome, but it means that I'm a little bit behind and that a couple of the BfA alpha videos that I've wanted to make, I keep pushing back because I want to get more information and more footage for them. So I think I'm getting close to finishing a zone. I'm definitely going to put some more time into it this weekend. Basically, Island Expeditions look cool. I haven't tried them yet, but the second that I try them, I will be putting out a video, so keep an eye out for that. Speaking of taking time to just play the alpha, this week in my apartment has been like a construction week. We had that water damage fiasco a couple of weeks ago. We're still missing the floor. Some people came through this week and they've been patching up the wall. So that's been kind of like Tuesday through today has been drywalling, which has been very loud. So I didn't get my video out yesterday. Everything's been like a little bit disrupted, and I've been keeping an eye on the cat and the dog and make sure they don't like get out the front door and make sure they're not too upset. There was like this weird loud air compressor-y thing that would just make noise at random that Cat was not a fan of. I was really hoping that that would all be done this week, but it's Friday and nobody has started on the floor yet, so I'm gonna go ahead and say that we're not done with construction yet, but I am just doing my best to work through it anyways. And when things are loud and a little bit disrupted, it is harder to record videos, but I can still play alpha, so that's the silver lining there, is I've been making more alpha progress because it's the only thing that I can really do. And then one more thing, which is not related to anything, it's not news, it's not really channel news, it's just like a thing that's been on my mind. I randomly have fish fever. Like, you know how people have like baby fever, or like I had cat fever before I had the cat. Like I really wanted a cat, and then I got the cat and it was just everything I ever dreamed it would be. Hi. I really want a fish now. I used to have a fish. If any of you have been watching like actually forever, like since 2013, in the very, very early ones, there was like this big fish bowl in the back and I had a betta fish back there. I want another betta fish, but I want it in a bigger tank this time because they're happier with more space. I want at least 3 gallons, maybe even like a 5-gallon tank, and I want to like decorate it. I've been glued to the Overwatch League whenever my team is playing the Soul Dynasty, and I really want to name the betta fish Fleta and have Fleta the betta. And then maybe, you know, if I'm live streaming and the cat is just asleep really far away and I just can't set up a cat cam, maybe we can set up a fish cam. It can be like a consolation cat cam. Anyways, questions from this week. Terralus on my Discord, actually, plug for my Discord, asked, hi Hazel, you have mentioned the idea of making your own DBM voice pack, so is there a plan for that? So at the time that you asked this question, which was yesterday, there wasn't a plan. It was one of those things. It's just like, oh, hey, that's a good idea. I could do that. I should probably do that one day. But you're right, I should have a plan. And we very recently reached the very top Patreon goal that I had set, and I couldn't really think of anything that made sense to put as a further Patreon goal. And the one that we most recently reached was for Kitty. The one that we most recently reached is for me to redo my computer. So I am going to be doing a new computer build this year once some new parts come out onto the market, like whatever NVIDIA is looking at next for their GPUs, and then preferably the next generation of Ryzen, although we'll see what happens. But I couldn't think of another thing to put after that that would make sense. So there we go. I will set a Patreon goal. So thanks for the idea. I have bookmarked the resources that I need to figure out how to make it. I will practice my counting voice acting, and then when we hit the next goal, I will take some time and put together a Hazel DBM voice pack, if you would like me to be the sounds of your DBM. So that has been my week. Thank you so much for watching. If you have a question that you would like answered on the vlog, please just leave it as a comment on the most recent vlog. Or if you want, you can put it on my Discord. There is a Discord invite link in the description of this vlog, and then you can just sort of @Hazel and that'll find its way to me as well. I look forward to seeing some of you on this afternoon's live stream, and I hope that you have a wonderful, wonderful day. Bye!